Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit today about weight management and weight loss. Okay, so weight management and weight loss is going to be in chapter 10 in your book. And we've already gone over in some other slides and some videos about how we're going to measure if somebody is at an appropriate body weight or an appropriate amount of body fat. So now let's talk about how we gain or lose that weight. So if you're at an appropriate weight, you're at a weight where you want to be, then you've got to make sure and have an energy balance. Basically, what that means is that you are taking in the same amount of calories that you are utilizing, that you're using due to your just activities of daily living, your exercise, all those sorts of things, right? So it's kind of like food is like the gas you put in your gas tank, right? And the calories out or energy out is like the amount that you drive or the amount of gas that you use to drive. Well, if you don't put in enough gas, you don't put in enough food, you're going to lose weight, right? Just like you'd run out of gas. If you put in too much, unfortunately, you're going to just add on the weight. You're going to add on the stored energy. So think about body fat like that. Body fat is just stored energy. And if you're taking in more stored energy than you're putting out, right, then you're going to have a positive energy balance, right? Positive energy balance means you're going to gain weight. Really, gaining and losing weight is that simple. If you have more energy in the form of food coming in than you have going out by means of exercise and just, again, your activities of daily living and those sorts of things, then you're going to gain weight because you're going to store it in the form of body fat, right? If you have a negative energy balance, then that means you are going to lose weight, right? Positive energy balance means you gain weight. Negative energy balance means you lose weight. And again, you have to think of body fat as quite simply a storage form of energy, right? So what is going to contribute to that? What is going to contribute to your energy that you utilize, right? The energy that you take in, it's quite simply the food that you eat, right? You got protein, you got carbohydrates, you got fats, you've also got alcohol that adds some calories in there if you drink any alcohol. But so we mostly know about that, right? Let's talk about where our energy needs go, where we spend our energy, right? So we take in all this food energy. How do we then use that energy, right? Well, you're going to start off with your basal metabolic rate is the largest amount for most people. That's where most of your energy goes. It's actually just to sustain your body, just to exist, right? That's your basal metabolic rate, and that's going to be around 50 to 70% for most people, right? Then you're going to have physical activity, which is going to be about 20 to 35% for most people. And then we're not still quite at 100% yet, so 10% is going to be the thermic effect of food. So that's just actually the energy that you use and the heat that you create simply digesting your food. Now, these numbers are not going to be the same for everyone all the time. Okay, I'm a cycling coach. I coach riders that ride for sometimes hours and hours and hours every single day. So if somebody exercises vigorously every single day, they could easily have half or more be this physical activity right here. They could have half or more of their energy balance, the energy going out, be the physical activity, right? Your normal person, is going to use several hundred calories a day just from walking around the house, doing things like that, right? But a very vigorous exercise can use half or even more of their calories due to physical activity and exercise, right? So when we talk about the best way to estimate our total energy needs for the day, there are a few different ways to do this, but your book has an assessment on page 369 that works really well. It takes into account your physical activity, but in my opinion, the best way to do it is just there's a very easy way of guesstimating this within really a few percentage points, and that is quite simply your body weight in kilograms per hour, right? And we talked about that before when we talked about energy expenditure, right? So body weight in kilograms per hour. So if I am 80 kilograms, right? 80 kilograms, that's around 180 pounds or so, give or take, right? If you weigh that, then you burn 80 calories an hour just by sitting around doing nothing. When you exercise, you've got to add that on top. So if I weigh 80 kilograms an hour, and in one day, I'm 80 kilograms times 24 equals 1920, right? 80 kilograms times 24 equals 1,920 calories just for doing nothing. If I weigh 80 kilograms, that's how many calories I burn just existing, lying on the couch all day, not even getting up to do anything. So if you're smaller than that, it's going to be less than that. If you're more than that, it's going to be more than that. Then you've got to add in all your physical activity. And we've already gone over, we've had a video and a PowerPoint on how to estimate those things, right? So we know how to estimate. We've already talked about how to estimate our energy intake and energy output. We've talked about how we need to have a negative energy balance if we want to lose weight, a positive energy balance if we want to gain weight, right? So let's talk about how many calories are in a pound of fat and what's an appropriate weight loss, right? So an appropriate weight loss, if somebody does need to lose weight, are 1 to 2 pounds per week. That is an appropriate weight loss goal, okay? Somebody that's bigger and needs to lose more weight might be on the higher end of that, closer to 2. Somebody who's smaller, maybe a 1 pound per week, right? If you're a 120-pound woman and you want to lose 7 or 8 pounds, 1 pound a week is appropriate. If you're a 250-pound man and you want to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds, then more like 2 pounds is appropriate. So that's a good, appropriate goal, right? Let's also talk a little bit about how many calories in a pound of fat. So there are 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat, right? 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. And the only way to lose weight is to burn more calories than you take in. 3,500 calories burned, 3,500 calories more than you take in will lead to a loss of 1 pound of fat. So, if we are on a diet where we are attempting to lose 1 pound of fat per week, right? We want to lose 1 pound of fat per week. That's 3,500 calorie deficit we want to have, right? 3,500 calorie deficit we want to have. Well, there are 7 days in a week, right? So how many calories per day is that, right? That's going to be 500 calorie deficit. That's how many calories you want to lose, how many calories we want to be in the negative per day. So theoretically, if you have a 500 calorie deficit per day, every single day, you will lose a pound a week. And it's that simple. It's not always easy, but it's simple, okay? If you have more than that, then you're not going to lose a pound a week. If you do have a greater deficit than 500 calories, then you can lose more than a pound a week. So the next video, we're going to talk a little bit about different kinds of diets and extreme dieting and why you may have some initial weight losses with extreme dieting, but that they're not going to be long-term.